welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, I'm joined by the big Ethan Daffy. And this week, of course, we are previewing Carlton v Port Adelaide. Massive game at Marvel Stadium. Of course, it is round 18 this week. It is crazy how quickly this season has gone, Daffy boy. So Saturday, 15th of July, of course, this week, 4:35 p.m, Marvel Stadium, as I've just mentioned. Potentially a full crowd packed out Marvel Stadium. What more can you ask for? Daffy boy, first things first, more importantly, how are you? And very quickly touch on your initial thoughts, I guess, for the game.
I'm well, mate. I'm looking forward to this week's game. Port Adelaide, I was thinking before I hopped on this on the call right now, I'm like, Port Adelaide are one of those teams I like to verse. Yeah. I don't know. There's something about it. We've always had some good wins against them. Obviously had some shattering losses in terms of Robbie Gray, but no, I just feel like there's something in the water this week. I don't want to, jinx it. I'm not necessarily saying we're definitely going to win, but there's some obviously I feel like we're going to put up a good performance this weekend, and because last weekend it's just really shifted my mind and trust. I mean for this team in terms of I know what they're going to put out. I think like on the weekend I was still a little bit cautious, and the first two quarters I was still worried. Even at halftime we're up 25 and they only kicked 2 goals. I was still a little bit that little bit of, oh no, like come on. But it got to probably 5 minutes into the third, I thought I trust them. Even if the Dockers kick one, I just know that we're going to be there on the rebound. But yeah, Port Adelaide, great side. They're playing some good footy, but for me, I know they've won 14 in a row, but they are gettable, Pato. They're not very different to the side last year we played in terms of personnel. It's just that they're playing really good footy, obviously under Ken Hinkley, who I rate very highly. But who would know the Port Adelaide game plan best? Because I think there's one guy, he's pretty important to us. And I think it's that my head coach, Michael Voss, who's obviously knows a lot of their players very well. So be interesting to see how we play and how we set up.
Yeah, well said. Of course, Port Adelaide have played some pretty good football this year. What's the streak up to now? I think you just said is it 13, 14?
14, I think. 14.
That like in a 24 round season, that is actually insane to actually do the season. But yeah, as you said, I think they're playing some pretty good football. Credit to them, because last year it wasn't looking too bright for their season this year. And we thought that, I know that a lot of the media was thinking that Ken Hinkley might have departed at the halfway through the season, if not season's end. But now it's looking a lot more likely that he'll sign a contract and he'll be the long-term coach for Port Adelaide. But very quickly, Daffy boy, favourite moment. There's one that stands out in my mind. There might be, I'll give you a bit of a clue. It involves a certain tractor, but what do you think? Favourite moments? Port Adelaide, Daffy boy, what would you say?
Yeah, like I said, I think there's been a few good games actually against Port Adelaide. I think even in obviously we'd rather win, but obviously in their wins, there's been some close wins. Obviously the Robbie Gray, like I touched on before, and other wins like that, and obviously the big tractor that you'll touch on, but which was a great moment. But for me, it was 2013 when we're obviously, I guess, lucky in terms of Essendon, getting kicked out of the 8, and it came to round 23, and we all thought, Jesus, we're a shot. We have to win this game. And obviously, it was over at Amy Stadium. Then it was the last game at Amy Stadium in Adelaide, and they were wearing their prison bars, and they're all up and about, thinking, "Oh yeah, we're going to win here." And I think we're probably 35, almost 40 points down at one stage of the game. I remember actually turning off the telly. Me and the fam turned off the telly. Nah, that's enough. Season's done. And then just gave it 5 minutes, and we saw a couple goals. I'm like, okay, let's just turn it on here. There's something going on. And then that comeback where, there was just goal after goal, Murph kicking goals from 50. And one particular moment in that game, which makes me laugh, but also is a goosebumps moment, is Tom Bell's goal on the run from 50 to
Corns, good bump, Digan. Took him down fair. Bell bangs it to full forward. It's long. It's there! For the first time today, Carlton in front.
One of the most, interesting footballers we've ever had at the club. He was built like Adonis, but could barely hit the side of a shed, and then he's on the run from 50 and kicks a goal, which Dwayne Russell has great commentary there. Bell, that guy, that commentary we all remember. So yeah, that's probably my favourite moment, and obviously it's a big moment in the Carlton Football Club in terms of how that led into the week after too.
Yeah, well, actually, to mention Port Adelaide, because there are, I feel like there's a few teams that we play against that, like, there's some that we don't have so many great moments, but Port Adelaide, we've actually got a lot of great moments against them. And you name that one, like 2013. I know the one, but I'm just like, I actually forgot how insane that moment was, because even me as a kid, it was 2013, so I was grade 6. So how old? I think 12 or 13. And I can just remember, because I was actually away that day, and I was kind of keeping up with the score because my dad was also a Carlton supporter, and we were kind of watching it, and I was like, kind of keeping up with the scores. And at halftime, we were just like, nah, the season's done. And then we looked to the end of the, I think it was like 5 minutes to go, and then we were like, right. So then I had to put the game on the phone. But the one moment from that game I liked as well was Bryce Gibbs.
O'Shea run down by White. Umpires have put the whistle away. Look at this. Bryce Gibbs back home. He played Little League here as a kid. Last ever game here, and he makes a statement.
I think there was good commentary around it. Like, he used to play Aussie
Little League.
Little Leagues as a kid. No, it's good. But as you said, I think my spoiler gave it away, and of course it was the Matt Cruiser goal to seal it. 2014, I think the year was, by memory.
He's sprinting. Jones is the target, however. He's got front spot. He can't complete the mark. Kerridge hand pass is okay. Cruiser, become a hero. Become a hero. And he has.
But what a freak of nature he was. If he just got his body right, who knows what he could have been. But of course, shout out to Matty Cruiser. But now we'll move on to a milestone game, which is, of course, Jacob Weitering. 150 games, which has gone so quickly. Comparing to Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay, of course, they played their 100th game this season, and they were both in the same draft year. But, of course, Jacob Weitering, 150th game. But, Dave, I'll put you on the spot here. But is there a favourite moment from Jacob Weitering that kind of comes to mind straight away? Is there one certain moment, or is there one certain game that comes to your mind?
Yeah, I think, we knew what we were getting when we drafted him. I think from the first game, he had that kind of authority down back, even though he was a lighter frame at the start. We knew what he was going to become. And, he's a good leader for the footy club, in my opinion. I think he sets the standards in terms of both training and work, and, during a game, he obviously sets the standard in terms of, most games he plays well, we play well. So, my favourite moment, is obviously there's a lot of games he's played extremely well. I think it's probably a recent one where he was, it was probably against the Hawks last year when he took that mark.
O'Meara, they're going to get the shot. No, they won't.
Great mark.
Jacob Weitering is repelled all day.
That ultimately won us the game. I think it's not in terms of that's his only greatest moment, but that moment kind of reflects the way he plays in terms of those marks are what he does in terms of, like when he's got to take the mark and with a minute to go in the game, he knows he has to take it. And it was one of those moments. And obviously Hutto had great commentary on that as well. He's repelled all day. I think he's a superstar, and obviously had a little bit of a tough situation at the start of the year, but geez, the way he's playing now, man, I don't think he's been beaten 1-on-1 probably for the last 12 weeks. So good on him.
Yeah, spot on. I know that was probably the one, I guess, moment that came to my mind as well, but I'll probably put it more towards the game against Sydney and how he was able, I mean, it's not really a moment, but I guess it was his kind of rejuvenation in a way with his AFL career. With that game, like, the amount of shit he's gone through, and that week he opened up with a lot of the stuff that he went through, and he actually let a lot of people in, and that probably helped him as well. But also with that game, like, yes, we lost the game in the end, but he like we always mention how great when your key defender is playing well, when your key leader in the defense is playing well, we are most likely going to win that game. If not, it looks better. The system looks better. The team looks better. And shout out to Weitering because only champions can do that. Only champions can, I guess, go through that sort of adversity and go and get through on the other end. Only champions can do that. And that shows the leadership quality of Weitering. And one of the greatest moments of all time in an AFL Grand Final was, of course, Leo Barry marking it in the dying stages. And that's a key defender mark. And who knows, Jack Weitering, I mean, I know that it was just against Hawthorn round 3 or whatever round, but those moments, leadership moments, you need to stand up, and Weitering does it. But before we move on to the game sort of sense, we'll touch on one more thing before we get into our potential inclusions. And it's, of course, the recent news that's come out, which is, of course, Matt Kennedy and his injury. So some sort of positive is he didn't, a suspected, I guess, ACL was not confirmed. So, of course, it is a high-grade MCL injury. So that's still quite a lengthy sort of, I guess, stint on the sideline, but only 6 to 8 weeks. So, and of course for him as well, it's good that it's not an ACL injury because we all know how serious those injuries are. But Matt Kennedy, Duffy boy, how big of an injury is this? And for kind of a sneak peek into your potential inclusions, who do you think you might bring in to replace Matt Kennedy?
Yeah, it's a shame because he's playing some really good footy and he's very important to this side in terms. I always rant on about that he's so important for us moving forward in terms of moving the ball forward, and he's always kicking his fair share of goals. So, but thank God, it is a massive positive that it's a 6 to 8 weeks. He might miss the rest of the season, depending on the whole situation, but I'd imagine he misses most of the season. And but the good thing about it is he doesn't have his preseason interrupted heading into next year, because that's, you look at Zach Williams and his ACL. Obviously, he's out for the season, and shows you the damage it has when it's like a 12-monther. So at least it doesn't, interrupt his preseason. And who knows, back end of the year, we can't say he can't come back at some stage, but I'll just keep a lid on it.
Yep. Well, who knows? We might make the grand final, Duffy boy, and we might see Matt come in as the super sub. So, of course, we'll now touch on the potential inclusions. There's a few tests this week, which is quite interesting. So, of course, TDK and Pitnet both last week, but were named as tests. But, of course, this week they are also on the injury list as tests. So, of course, TDK and Pitnet should be available. But I know that you have some news, Duffy boy, on Pitnet. Zach Fisher is a test. Corey Durden is also a test. Paddy Dow is a test of his concussion injury. And, of course, McGovern with his corky. That is also a test. We don't really know what we're going to do with McGovern. If we're maybe just going to give him a week to kind of, I guess, recover from a cork injury, because they are quite, I guess they're annoying because they're just that little niggle. But when it does happen, it could affect you for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. But out of those, probably 6 names, Daffy boy. And also to touch on maybe another player that might come through the VFL, out of those potential inclusions and kind of a sneak peek into your ins and outs, who are the most important out of those names that you might bring in?
Yeah, obviously you look at the top, and I think, TDK, but TDK is probably the most important. But you look at, I think for mine is having a little bit of forward line depth with Durden, being available as well, because I think he can definitely come into the side and play a Fogarty role or some sort of small forward role, and he can definitely fit in there. But for mine, I think with most of these names, I think I'd imagine Durden would play twos to start off, get going, because you look at Jesse Motlop, who I reckon won't play for the rest of the year. Is playing some absolute great footy. I think we just need to keep him there, and then just come next year, he'll be an absolute beast up forward. So he's been having 25s and goals, which is good to see. So, but yeah, I think obviously Pito's a week to week. I think it's more of an injury rather than a knock than like TDK's, and obviously Fisher's available, which is an interesting one because he's obviously been in the best 22 for the most part of a few years now. It's looking like he's on the outer. So, and obviously Paddy Dow, and Gav's got the cork, which, with Gav, if he's playing not 100%, we know what output he gives in. So, it'll be interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, so straight back to you, Duffy. We're a bit of a forehand down the line, straight back to your backhand. Ins and outs. Who are you bringing in, and who are you bringing out?
Yeah, ins for mine. Obviously, I'll start with outs. Actually, be Kennedy. And this is just in case. This is not my actual out, but if Gov isn't up, if so, if he's not up, he's out. Obviously, ins Hewitt. Straight in for Kennedy. I think he has to come in. And Marchbank, if Gov can't get up, but I think Marchbank he's been good in the VFL the last 3-4 weeks. So he'd be the ideal replacement if Gov can't get up.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Completely agree. Do you have a sub name down there as well?
Yeah, my sub is
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough.
Yeah, I think you almost go maybe a Dow.
Yeah.
In terms of he replaces Hewitt in terms of midfield depth.
Okay.
Especially for next week, because we don't have that. I think obviously we're not bringing in a ruckman, so mids are working harder. So you probably need that depth in terms of Dow comes in maybe in the last quarter to provide energy in case someone's a little bit down or Hewitt's down, or maybe we need another mid just to add into that mix. So I think Paddy Dow.
Yep. Like it. I know that my sub is Paddy Dow as well, so hopefully he will be as that sub. So my out, so I reckon I'll also add in the McGovern and Marchbank. So I completely agree. If McGovern's out, I want Marchbank to come in. So my outs is very stiff. Now I'm going to touch on my in. So TDK in for Lewis Young. Quite stiff. Yep. Now, of course, Matt Kennedy as well will be out, and I'm bringing in George Hewitt. Now, So you didn't bring in TDK, did you?
No.
So you're willing. So if TDK is available and Pito is available, you're willing to play them in the twos? Because this is the exact same conversation as last week. If they were both available, I was willing to play TDK in the twos and Pit in ones, but because of Port Adelaide's lack in ruckman, I mean, I guess right now they don't have a ruckman, exact same as us. Is that a bit of the reasoning as to why you're not bringing in TDK or Pitnet this week?
I have never enjoyed an afternoon of the football as much as I did on the weekend, watching those both Lewis Young and the way they planned for that game was unbelievable. From the get-go, like you could see what they needed to do. They knew they didn't need to wrestle Darcy in terms of mark contest. They'd come out of nowhere. Yep. There'd be lack of body contact because they would be flying across, which really, for me, is massive in terms of, they're prepared. But yeah, it is interesting. You almost go, if TDK comes in, with your point of view, I think you almost put Lewis Young as a sub. Because if you drop Lewis Young, because I think Young can play the ruck and down back, and you never know if TDK isn't right for a full game. That makes the whole sub situation very, very interesting. And I'm not unhappy, with TDK coming in, but I just feel like I've got that sense of comfortable with those two, both Youngie and Silvani in the ruck. I think you maybe bring in a TDK next week against the Eagles. Maybe because is he a definite? I don't know.
And then also it's the exact same situation because they have Bailey Williams playing as their ruck.
Yeah. So and even when teams have rucks, I'm not really fussed because it really depends on how they play, because of the way Freo played was really, really dumb in terms of they won 80 hitouts, but their hitouts, we were just sharking every hitout. The way Andrew Phillips did, I'm not sure if you watched that game versus Port Adelaide a few weeks ago. He was just whacking at 20 metres because he realised they were just trying to get his taps. And that actually led to, Essendon should have won the game. Really, they should have won the game. But you see Oscar McInerney, how many times did he whack it in the ruck? especially against a second ruck or a ruckman that's, a makeshift ruck, they change it up. So that's the only danger. If we verse it aside and we've got these guys and they just tend to just whack it or whatever, that might be an interesting thing. But for me, I'm backing in Lewis Young and Sauce because I think both of them aren't worthy of getting dropped.
Yep. Like it a lot, David Boy. Love it. Love it. So now we're going to move on to the ground overview. We'll touch on the back line, midfield, rucks, and forward line before we transition into our match predictions. But first things first, back line, we always touch on, we actually started last week with the key matchup, I guess, for each line. And we'll start off with the milestone man, Jacob Weitering, up against Todd Marshall. So I know Marshall's had a solid season. I don't think he's up there for the common, but I think he's still playing quite a good season, and he's playing in a pretty bloody good side in Port Adelaide. So Weiters, I assume, would go straight to Marshall, but also there's a Charlie Dixon down there. Daffy Boy, who do you think Weiters goes to? Because there's also a Kemp down there as well. And if McGovern isn't fit, maybe a Marchbank might play as that Kemp role, and Kemp plays as the McGovern role. So, in that, speaking of that, do you think Weitering goes straight to Marshall, or do you think it might be a different player that Weiters goes to?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. I think they're actually looking very dangerous up forward, Port Adelaide. I think they're getting many guys. Obviously, Marshall's one of those guys, but I think for me, I think the dangerous ones have been two guys have kind of turned around this year in terms of Charlie Dixon and Jeremy Finlayson.
Yep.
I think they've worked really well in tandem together, and I just feel like they are both very different and very similar to Harry Mackay and Charlie Kerno. They provide something different, and I really like the way Finlayson goes about it. I think he had 12 in score involvements on the weekend, which is crazy. He was 3 goals, 4, I think, too. So, I think with what Weitering has changed in his game in the last 6 weeks, he's actually turned into an intercept defender. He's actually kind of like he used to be. I think everyone thinks he's the lockdown defender, but I think he's actually more capable of actually being that intercept defender and, coming off his man and taking grabs, kind of like a Harris Andrews, who I think Weitering is 20 times better than. But I think, with their key backs, I think we can match them. I think, obviously Weitering maybe takes a Charlie Dixon in terms of size, and maybe Kemp goes to Marshall, and Finlayson, he comes in and out of the ruck, same as Charlie Dixon. So that's the matter of if Lewis Young's in the ruck, you obviously go behind the ball and add that extra kind of height down there. So overly, I'm not too worried, but I know they're very dangerous if you let them go, because they've got some good goal kickers, and especially in the midfield with Rosie, Butters, how Pepper can kick goals on his day. And then we've got obviously Willie Rioli down there as well, who I think will be the least impactful player on the ground on the weekend, because I think our small defenders one-on-one on the weekend were superb.
Yeah, completely great. And also just to name another name also there that they've, of course, brought over this year, which is, of course, Jason Horne-Francis. He's playing a little bit more as that forward role. He's not playing as much midfield as he did at the start of the year, but I know about you, Ducky Boy, but I just reckon if we get into Jason Horne-Francis, I'll be so happy as a Carlton supporter. I'll just give him a bit of a chitty. Like, of course, do it legally, but just a bit of a like, say, like if Cripper goes over him, like say like Silvani last year when he was like, "You're shit, your team is shit." So Jason Horne, love to say that, because I know what it is about Horne. I mean, I like his style, but I don't know, there's just something about him, that boy. I don't know what it is. But now we'll move on now to the midfield. Another key matchup, of course, which is a guy that's found some form the past probably month, which is really good to see. And of course, it is Sam Walsh up against Zach Butters. So Zach Butters, of course, is also maybe a Brownlow fancy, which is always a good thing to see Zach Butters play some good football, because I think he's very exciting. I don't know about you, Duffy Boy, but if we could just not necessarily tag him, but just put some pressure around him, because Zach Butters can pretty much take the game out of his hands, out of the opposition's hands, and he just has that firepower that can really dominate a game. But this matchup, Duffy Boy, and of course some other midfielders, as you just mentioned then, from Port Adelaide side of things, but also from our side of things. What are your thoughts? Who's the worry from your end? for Port Adelaide. From Port Adelaide.
Yeah, I think they're a really good midfield. Obviously, they've had a bunch of guys step up massively. I think the main guy for me is Zach Butters this season. He's turned from probably, on the edge of A grade to really top 8, grade player. He's probably, top 5 in the Brownlow, like you said. I think he'll be up there definitely. Unfortunately, I think it might be the Collingwood man, who I won't name, winning the Brownlow. But I think their mids are fantastic. I really like the way they play. I like Port Adelaide for some reason. They've always got a kind of soft spot. I don't know why. On the weekend, there definitely won't be a soft spot, but Butters, I think Butters obviously has been phenomenal. I think it's the way in terms of they go about it, in terms of how many blokes go into that midfield. Like you've got Butters, Rosie, Powell Pepper, Boak, Horn Francis, Willie Rioli sometimes goes in there. Finn Layson plays like a mid when he's in there. So it's a really tough midfield to really have a hold on. But I think, guys like Butters and Rosie who can hit the scoreboard are dangerous because they kick goals when it's needed.
Yeah.
And Rosie's obviously was the same draft as Walshy. So I think Butters was too. I think they're the same draft. I believe so. I think they came all the same year. So, Rosie, there's always that talk about him and Walsh, comparing each other. But I think we just got to, they're both fantastic. And, the way Walshy played on the weekend, you've probably got an argument that he's better than Rosie. But I don't know Rosie's performances. But I think we just got to just accept the fact that they're both A-grade footballers. And, comparing is sometimes a little bit hard, I think, because they're both superstars. But our midfield, Pato, it's a top 5 midfield in the comp, in my opinion, when we're on. So just a matter of how we go. And in terms of rucks, are we, sharking their hit outs? Or I'd imagine we're not because they don't have any rucks. So be interesting to have 2 teams without rucks. That's my thinking. I think that'll be the kind of showcase game for the rest of the league in terms of do we need ruckman? Do we need to be throwing 800k ruckman? Because come season's end, I reckon there might be a little bit less interest in terms of trade table or money-wise for ruckman, which is a shame for them, actually.
Yeah. Well, especially with how much clubs are willing to pay for ruckman. Like, I mean, I know that we've probably been one of those clubs to do it this year with Pitternet. Of course, his paycheck wasn't as much, but 4 years is still a lengthy. Like it is quite a lengthy deal. So, what I said about the midfield as well, I think Connor Rose is probably I think it's hard to tell. Zach Buddies is that guy that you expect to dominate a game, but Rosie is that guy that could go a little bit under the radar and out of nowhere in the fourth quarter, he could kick maybe 2 goals in a row and just dominate a game. So I'm a fan. As you said, I'm really a fan of Port Adelaide. I don't know what it is. I actually kind of like, but of course this week we hate it. They are the enemies. So now we'll move on to, of course, the rucks. It's a bit of a different sort of lineup this week because usually we have a genuine ruck from our end and a genuine couldn't even say the word genuine ruck from their end. But Sam Hayes is the Port Adelaide ruckman that played last week, which is interesting because I think he is actually a genuine ruckman. But I don't know. So he's probably the one guy. So we'll go off your inclusions because I know I'm bringing in TDK, but we'll go off your inclusions, which is, of course, Lewis Young as that main ruck and Silvani chipping in as that second ruck. So we kind of expect it to be Lewis Young and Sam Hayes to be that ruckman, to be the ruck battle. How do you see this playing out? Because once again, it's a ruckman, but it's not a genuine key ruckman that plays every single week. So Sam Hayes has a little bit to play for as well. With Lysette being out, Sam Hayes has a bit to play for this week as well. So how do you see this playing out? And if Sam Hayes keeps his spot and if Lysette doesn't get up for this week and Sam Hayes is in, how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, so I was just reading right now that Lysette's a chance to regain his spot. So like you said, he's definitely a chance, but not overly worried about Scott Lysette in my opinion. But no, I think with Sam Hayes and their rucks, obviously I'd imagine it'd be Dixon and Finlayson going through there, and they always rotate around. It's so confusing watching Port sometimes. They have a ruck on every contest, different ruck on every contest. But yeah, like I said before, I think the way we set up, it's in terms of it's not like we're not planned to have no ruck. So like if we're going into we went into the Freo game knowing we're going to have Lewis Young and Silvani, and you knew from the first quarter that they knew what the plan was during the week. Obviously, they've gone to work with Cruiser or the mid coach going, we've got to, what we need to do is not wrestle them in the contest in terms of, marking contest, more flight, and stay on the ground. And when there's a ball to be won, you gotta win that ball. So, it's interesting. Like we lost the hitouts by about 148, I reckon, on the weekend. So it's not going to happen every week that we're going to dominate the midfield, and that's going to be the number, because I think Port Adelaide have been playing with no rucks for, no main ruck for pretty much most of the winning streak, so they know what it's about. So it'll be tough in there, but I'll back in whoever's in there, whether it's TDK and Sauce or TDK and Lewis Young or Lewis Young and fucking Sauce. So there's all different combos in there.
Yeah. I mean, like well said about, I guess, how they've kind of managed Port Adelaide with their win streak and how they haven't really played with a genuine ruck. And I reckon they were probably one of the first teams that actually, I guess, started off with having a key forward as that ruck. Because I know that Finlayson was one of those guys, I think it was last year, because Lysette was out for most of the year last year. And it was talked about that if he was in, Port Adelaide would be a lot better. But of course, he's played some games this season, but he hasn't played enough games this season to prove his spot as that the option in the ruck, because they've done it without him for a lot of games this season that they've actually won. And I reckon we're kind of going off a little bit of that, because Finlayson is a very solid second ruck, but he's now turning into maybe being a solid number one ruck and playing as that forward ruck option. Because once again, it's unpredictable, because with a ruck, it's so like, what they're gonna bring. It's just trying to stop it. But if you come into, like, imagine an opposition side coming in against a guy against Lewis Young and Jack Silvani. How unpredictable is that? Like, it's very, I think it's one thing that I actually like, the unpredictability of coming into a side and not knowing what they are going to dish up. Okay, so now we'll move on to the forward line, which is, of course, a matchup that I think is pretty much expected to happen. But, of course, there's some other matchups down there. I think Trent McKenzie is probably the one guy that might go straight to Harry Mackay, but I think the matchup that we'll focus on, which is, of course, Charlie Curnow.
He's out.
Who?
He's out. Trent McKenzie.
Is he?
Yeah, hurt his ankle last week, and sorry to interrupt, but Tom Jonas is in line to play his first AFL game since round 10.
Who?
He's been dropped. Tom Jonas. He hasn't played? He's been playing Sample. He's their captain. He's been playing twos for the last 7 weeks, and he's in. He's in, Trent McKenzie's out. If anyone wants to check out sen.com.au, I actually did a analysis on the Port Adelaide Football Club for this week, and Trent McKenzie is out.
Well, I guess my sources, so it shows that I don't really watch enough Port Adelaide games, but I thought, okay, well, that just shows that, I think you've got a little bit of it out there because you get through the the sources through SEN, mate. So, so actually, that's good to see. That will be interesting now because Tom Jonas, of course, the captain coming back in. But would you still think he'll go straight to Harry Mackay and Alia goes to Charlie Curnow?
Either way, we're kicking goals, Pato.
Yeah.
Either way, we're kicking goals. I think I rate Leah very highly. Obviously, Jonas is clearly not rated internally currently. Hasn't been on the side. He hasn't been injured, and he's the captain. So obviously, there's a big talking point there. But obviously, they both can do a job. So it won't be easy. Leah's one of those intercept types, and obviously Jonas has been out of the AFL system for the last 7 weeks. So that's interesting. In terms of Curnow and Mackay, they're in really, really good form, and I think. Especially with Harry, I need it. Where's the media gone?
Yeah, I know.
Where are they?
Buddy annoys
Where
me.
are they gone? I can just hear fucking echoing. I can't hear anything. I can't hear nothing because for like 8 weeks straight, we're talking shit about him. And then now he's in probably the top 3 forwards of the last 6 weeks. And I don't hear a thing. So as long as we know he's playing well, he's playing well.
But that's one thing that we always just know with the media is they always pick on the negative side of things. And as soon as it's positive, as soon as he turns it around and actually gets through it, they're like, not going to say anything. Which, like, that's why I've never ever taken any interest into anything that the media says, because I'm just about over. I mean, especially with due through the week, with that whole bloody saga. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So, of course, we're not the Gold Coast Suns chat, we're Baggers chat. So we'll now move on to the last segment of the episode, which is, of course, probably the most exciting one, probably the most, I guess it's the one that we kind of see how the game shapes out. But, Daffy Boy, I need your best on ground, your point of difference, and your winner plus margin.
Yep. So I'll start off, obviously, best on ground. Okay. He's going to put the flag in the ground and he's going to say, I'm getting the All-Australian jacket this year, and it's going to be Adam Cerra again. It's going to be, I'm telling you right now, if he has another great performance, people are going to start even more talking about him. People are talking about him All-Australian already. So, seriously, he's had an absolute fantastic year, and he's kicking his goals, Pato, which we obviously love to see. So, point of difference for mine, once again, it's going to be Jordan Boyd. I think he goes under the radar. You know, people don't know who he is from other sides. Obviously, we know who he is because we're complete Carlton nuffs. But Jordan Boyd, he provides that difference. He won all his one-on-ones last week. He's great by foot when he needs to be. He doesn't get 40 touches, but when he gets his touches, they are high-quality touches, and tends to beat his opponent. So it's going to be Jordan Boyd for mine, the point of difference, and winner plus margin. We hate to go against Carlton, but I think it's going to be poor Carlton by 2 points. No, it won't be two. It won't be 2 points. I think we score enough, so I don't think we'll win just, but yeah. I think it'll be Carlton by 11 points.
11. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Sometimes we're like, you're going to be like, I reckon Port. Carlton. All right. So, best on ground for me. I mean, I love your options, especially I think the one with Jordan Boyd. I think he's that guy. He's just that player that you love to love. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's just that. Yeah. He's just that energy, and his ball use is fantastic. So, best on ground for me, the skipper, Patrick Cripps.
Yep.
He's going to be that leader that, say if things get a little bit tough, say if we're down by maybe 20 points and things get a little bit shit, someone needs to stand up, and you rely on your captain. Patrick Cripps is going to be best on ground. Point of difference, the guy that I expect to come in for Matt Kenny, which is, of course, George Hewitt. He's going to be that point of difference. He's going to be that contested stoppage beast. He's going to get the balls out to, like a Sam Walsh or a Adam Cerra or a Jordan Boyd running past, or even Adam Sard on the other side as well. So George Hewitt is going to be in my point of difference. But winner plus margin. Daffy Boy, I want your thoughts on this, and I want you to tell me if I am thinking outside of my brain. All right?
Oh, shit.
Winner plus margin, Carlton by 32 points.
No,
why can't it? Why can't it? Hubble Stadium. We played our last 3 wins. I know that they've been against not great opposition, but Gold Coast we won by 60. Hawthorn we won by 59. Port Fremantle we won by 53. Why can't it be another 5-goal win? 5-goal plus win. Why can't it? Marvel Stadium, we are confident. We are now we are attacking. Sorry, were you about to say something?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll probably held back in terms of if it was at the MCG, I'd back us in easily. I think Marvel they play pretty well there. So I think they've won the last 10 there. So but streaks are made to be broken, Pato, and obviously we're picking us to, and if we're seriously going to make finals, this is the one.
Yeah.
This is the one where you go, fuck, we're on here. We are on. Obviously, Freo was a massive scalp. I know that flying over to any team's ground, whether it's fucking West Coast or fucking Port Adelaide, whoever it is a tough game. It's never easy. Never easy. And we did that. We went there and absolutely dominated them and got the job done. What we needed to do, got a bit of percentage. We've got the percentage. That's not our issue now. Yep. And now it's just the wins on the board, and heading into this week, and then you got West Coast the week after, and then you got the Pies clash on the Friday night. The amount of confidence this game will have on the playing group I know the Freo game did definitely. You could visibly see it on the ground during the game.
Yeah.
But Port Adelaide, if they can get this scout paddo, they will start to believe that we can definitely make a finals run. And that's not me being a biased Carlton supporter, because 2 weeks ago, even when I beat the Suns, I did say that, Jesus, you look at the next, 2-3 weeks and they're definitely gettable weeks. And what are we? We're 1.5 games off fifth. We're 1.5 games off fifth, which almost pisses me off that we should be there.
Oh,
but,
no.
It's frustrating because I hope it doesn't bite us in the ass that we miss by a fucking, half a game or something like that, because that'll really grind my gears. But this is the week. Because if we win, Adelaide's got Giants. So one of them loses. We're going above them if we win.
Yeah.
Geelong Essendon. Geelong Essendon is another game for this ladder that is going to be interesting. And, there's obviously other games in there that are obviously going to shift the ladder. Obviously, Sydney Bulldogs, in Sydney, they could be the Dogs, which could really help us big time. That's why this game is massive. Gold Coast versus St Kilda at Gold Coast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gold Coast have a new interim coach. They're probably going to win that game. And there's so many opportunities for this club. How many times have we seen this in the last few years where we've failed to, when the finals question is on the line, and we've failed every single time. But I think this is another chance. This is a massive opportunity for this playing group and set of players, because we haven't done it before. There's more pressure on us this week for sure, in terms of we've got the pressure and we've finally got expectation. I feel like the last 3 weeks we've played under a little bit of, under the radar. But I think this is the week where we go, we're going to make finals, and we're going to make a charge deep in the finals, because I know we can. We've got the ability to do so. It's just a matter of getting into that 8. Obviously, this round 18 is round 24. So this is a massive game. If we can get this game, and then you look at it second half of kind of fixtures, you go, geez, Pato, we're I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm not going to say the word, but keep the lid on. The lid was off actually at Optus Stadium, but the lid's gone back on after that. But fucking hell, seriously, man, it's gettable.
But I don't know about you, but with me, it's not the lid is off, but
no, I
am confident, because the past 3 wins, it hasn't been the same football.
No, it hasn't been. Yeah.
It's been even different to last year, because now if the game gets tight, if the game gets close, we now manage the moments a little bit better. And I know that we haven't had a lot of those close moments, but say when Fremantle were coming back a little bit in that third quarter, we managed it. That's when we slowed down. That's when we controlled the football. And we didn't, I just feel like there's times throughout the season that we lost, and there'll be times that we control the football. But you don't know. Attack. When we had to control the football, we would attack. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But I just think this is, if we lose this game, season over. That's my opinion, because we have now finally a little bit more pressure, because now everyone's saying, oh my God, can Carlton actually do it? Can they do it? And if we lose this week, I will be checked out. I will be checked out. I know that mathematically we can still make it, but I'll be checked out, because the belief will go. That's just my opinion. And that's why I'm confident that if it's a close game, I just want it to be a blowout, and we can do it. 32 points is not out of this world from Carlton, because we can do it. And we haven't played at Marvel since we've kind of rejuvenated our, I guess, season. And yes, it's only 3 games in a row. Yes, it's only 3 wins in a row, but there's something different. There's something, I'll say it, but there's something cooking in the Carlton Football Club, Ducky Boy. Oh, no, he's done it. All right. So, of course, that is the last segment of the episode. Of course, it's this week, Port Adelaide, massive game, Saturday afternoon, Marble Stadium. Make sure to try and get down to watch the Blue Baggers play. Even for a mutual supporter, I think it will be a great game to get to. But, Daffy Boy, is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up the episode?
Nah, I'm all good, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, spot on. Short and sharp. We love it. Okay, so make sure to all the viewers, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to try and share the channel around. I know that we're trying to do our best to try and bring out as much content as possible, but I think it's always good to talk about the Blue Bags every single week. Now it's a little bit more positive, but hopefully from now on, it just stays this sort of positive. We are going back to we have more question than answers and blah, blah, blah. We now have the answers. Just keep with it. That's the one thing that we are asking for. So, as we said, I hope you all enjoyed the episode, and I hope you are enjoying the podcast as what we are doing it. And to you, Duffy Boy, and to all the Blue Baggers and the mutual supporters as well out there, up the Baggers!